Hi everyone, welcome to the SoccerBeat podcast. We are talking Chiefs today with Tsepo, Masilela and Coach Farouk Khan. We're going to be discussing three different things. The first thing is Coach Nabi's comments after the preseason about how the players are quite heavy and had an exhausting preseason schedule. We're going to look forward to the Sante Kotoko friendly coming up on Saturday. A big part of the Chiefs' preparation ahead of that opening game against Stellenbosch in the PSL. And then we're going to briefly discuss Luke Baartman and Asanele Velebayi, two players from Cape Town Spurs who Chiefs have been linked with. We're going to discuss whether these guys should be signed, whether Chiefs should pay fees for them if it comes to that. Before we get started, guys, please subscribe. As we always say, about 3/4 of you are not subscribed yet, but you are regular listeners. And if you haven't seen, there is 50,000 Rand up for grabs. There's a competition, just look on the channel and you can enter to win that 50,000 Rand. All right, so guys, let's start with Coach Nabi's comments. He spoke after the preseason, 4 defeats, one victory. He basically said, in summary, that, they're laying the foundation for the season. They wanted to play only good quality opponents, and they did a lot of physical work, double sessions, even the day before matches. They wanted to try and have players playing these matches really, really tired because he sort of said it might prepare them well for the CAF competition when they have to fly and then play maybe a couple of days after. He also said some days after the games, they had double sessions. They were trying to get the players, they were basically exhausting them completely. Now, the reason we're covering these comments, I'm quite keen to hear from you guys as an ex-player and a former Chiefs coach in recent years. What do you think of this? Does this prepare the team well to be going this hard in preseason, especially if the games are then, they can't really bring the intensity in the matches? Let's start with Coach. You've been in, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat in preseason. What do you make of the comments, and do you think this will sort of stands Chiefs in good stead for the season ahead?
Well, I think, as a coach yourself, Grant, and as a former player, Tsepo will appreciate the fact that the preseason is very scientific in modern day football. And I think we know it's a systematic planning of training to maximize, or should I say, to optimize performance and achieve specific goals. That's your key. So to do that, you have to plan accordingly. So everything you plan doesn't start on the day you go for the camp. It starts long before that, where you get your staff in, where you sit down with management, you look at budgets. I'm just going to try and give you a brief overview that you have a meeting with your head scout, you have a meeting with your football director, and you say, these are our targets. These are players that we're targeting, and we're going to take these players with to Harlem, like Chiefs have done, so that we can have a look at them. And at the same time, we want to create a good periodized program. And I mean a program that encompasses an entire season, which is a macro cycle. And that cycle plans for that season, whatever happens, when you want to peak, which cups you want to try and achieve, if you want to go for the league. Because again, you have to ensure that the loading is subject to the adaptation and the fact that players must peak specifically at a certain period. Because when you go into a season, and I think Coach Nabi has alluded to the point that he did quite extensive loading. And I'm sure that he is mindful that if you overload too early, you can create injuries, you can create fatigue, you can create several problems. So your loading should be progressive, and it should be such that you peak specifically at a certain time, meaning your macro cycle, your mesocycle, and your microcycles should follow suit. So we have what we call the basic phase, which is more generally aerobic conditioning, leading up to specific, where you do speed, etc. The danger with doing speed and strength too early, players could break down. So I just hope that the loading has been carefully monitored, and I'm sure with the technical team that Coach Nabi has, they did take those factors into account. Because you often see, and I think you can allude to the fact, there are some teams that peak too soon, and they have an excellent first 10 games, and suddenly you see the bottom falls out, and the team is fighting relegation. We've seen this in the past. So hopefully, Kaizer Chiefs is going to peak at the right moment with the periodized program that Coach Nabi and his technical team has developed or designed. And we will see a sharp team, a team that's able to last the season, because we have a very demanding season ahead of us, Grant. We have the league and we have CAF now to think about.
Yeah, and Tsepo, you've been part of so many pre-seasons. I'm sure there've been different styles in different countries. Some probably doing double sessions, some doing single sessions, different intensities. Now we know Chiefs fought off a cliff last year. Their results in the second half of the season really plummeted, and they had a ton of injuries after sort of January. Do you think there's a risk as well that they might come into the season maybe at their maximum fitness, but they might kind of have sort of blown the lights out a little bit by December, and they might start to sort of fall away. What's your opinions on the preseason and a preseason in general as a former player? Which ones you preferred?
Preseason it's important also for individually as a player. You can't only rely on the physical trainer, on the coaches to push you. You know which areas you have to work on. So it's very important also for individual and for a team. You're laying the foundation for the season ahead. But with doing double sessions, it's always normal in preseason. Listen, you from a 3 weeks break, or some teams they go for 4 weeks break. After the season has ended. So it's understandable that you'll have to load the guys, and I don't see any problem with that. Some team they go as far as having 3 sessions, Grant. They wake up early morning, they start by the gym, they go, field session, they go again in the afternoon. But what you must understand with preseason and in modern games, it's not only about getting the players tired. So it won't help you when it comes starts of the season. It has to be combined. Tactically they need to understand, how we're going to play, and there's also where you form understandings of as a group, as the whole team. The defense, you work on your defense, and maybe with the two in front of them, this is how we're going to defend. You work on the attack. So tactically and the style of play, that's where you, if you miss that, you only run the whole preseason. And as much as in some games you'd understand, we understand the players are tired. You as we've seen how they've done it. They've played back to back, like they play today, they play tomorrow. But the plan must be clear. As much as you're tired, but we know you couldn't execute. But the ideas we can see more or less the style of play. It needs to be repeated actions where we get to see the clear picture. Oh, this is the style of the team, regardless of the loading and the training in the morning, playing in the afternoon. Those are the things also you look at in the team that's doing a preseason.
Okay, so between the two of you, we're basically saying Chiefs are tired, and we can understand to an extent why their preseason has been maybe not as good as people were hoping in terms of performances. They also played a high quality of opponent, which is the whole point, to try and go there and to really stretch themselves. Of course, the question is now moving on. They have a friendly coming up against Asante Kotoko. Chiefs still have about 16, 17 days until their first league game against Stellenbosch, which is the team they usually manage to beat. Actually, they've got a good record there. Going into that first game, this is upcoming friendly. How many players can we actually say we are sure are going to play in that first league game? I mean, we can say Miguel, Cele, and a couple else. Is there a bit of a worry that the preseason we haven't seen these combos being formed yet? We don't actually know who the midfield are going to be, who the centre backs are going to be. We haven't seen the winger and the fullbacks maybe spending a lot of games together. What do you want to see in this Asante Kotoko friendly in terms of combinations, not just through the spine of the team, but even on the flanks? Let's start with Tsepo. I mean, what are you looking forward to in that game? I know you're going to be at the match. You're going to have a proper tactical view of the field, which is going to be helpful. What are you looking forward to, and which combinations do you think we still haven't seen enough of? So that there's some cohesion lacking, maybe.
It's in personally, I want to see more of like like their plan, like going into the new season, more of their style of play, because I could see in the preseason, they played in too much patches, there's one good action and then defending or too many back passes to the goalkeeper. I want to see the more of like, the style of play. And again, maybe we can't really blame them because they still have time. When you look at their rivals, like the likes of Sundowns already, they're gonna start on the second, I think. With the M10-8, maybe now they still have a couple of days. That's how they plan their preseason, to load them. When they come back, we start working on, on tactical issues going forward. Looking forward to the season. But I'd really like to see, more of the style of play, because sometimes style of play or philosophy, it's clear. If we're sitting back, we're hitting on a counter. There's a team that they want to dominate on position. You get what I say. So I want to see more of that, from the guys. And yeah, man, when you come back to the starting 11, I would assume, a Miguel. I saw Brendan starting lot of games, and obviously Cele, Lilepo, he should be there. Tuba didn't start, on some of the games. And Interesting to see who'll get a nod in the left back. If they're going with Shinga, or I'm not sure how far is Marco, and I'm not sure also about Croft. What was the extent of the injury?
Yeah, and for you, coach, I mean, is there anyone you'd like to see? Any combos, especially as Tsepo said? There's about 4 players that we know are going to start. The rest is up for grabs. So, is anyone you want to put their hand up, and also anyone you want to see maybe play a full game next to a partner where we can see some chemistry build?
Well, I'd like to see a very solid defense, because once you have a good defense, then obviously you're starting on a much more positive outlook. I'd like to see Dordtley fit, if possible. I don't know if he's going to be fit, but Dordtley and Miguel would be a good combination in the back with Peterson in goal. I think that could be a good start for Kaizer Chiefs. And Lilepo in midfield, we'd like to see what he comes with in this game against Kotoko. I think the Kotoko game is going to give us a good indication of what the coach has been doing preseason. Because I think preseason, and when we talk results now, it's not only Kaizer Chiefs results, it's also the teams they played with that were also in preseason, that were also loading their players, that were also trying the younger players out. So I think if we use the reasoning, and I want Coach Nabi to be more proactive and positive. I don't want to hear him talk about we loaded the players, the legs were heavy, the results were not forthcoming. I don't want to go into a season like that. I want to hear we had a solid preseason. We did whatever we did. We came up against some good opposition, but there's no excuses for results. Because again, results during the preseason, for me, is not my main objective. But to try and say we didn't do well because we overloaded, I don't want that from the coach. If I'm sitting where I'm sitting, I would say, Coach, I want to create a positive mentality in the team. I don't want the players to read that we were tired, that we had heavy legs. I want the players to say, hey, guys, we are ready to go. The game coming up against Kotoko, we want to beat Kotoko. We want to create a positive footprint going into the game against Stellenbosch. Because if we don't do that, already now we are creating reasons to fail. I want us to burn our excuses. I want to say to my players, let's burn our excuses, guys. It's 11v11 with our bench. We're going out there. We want to be positive. This year is Chiefs year. And I think that's the other thing, Grant. We need to create a positive mentality. We've heard in the last season, with all due respect, every time something went wrong, the coach had reasons to fail. I don't want that to be the case this year. Because this year, there's no reason to fail. Kaizer Chiefs must take their rightful place in football. So for me personally, that will determine for me the game against Kotoko. Does he play in Glovo? Does he beat Cele? Does he play Sereno from the get-go? Who does he use up front? Does Duba start up front? Is he going to go with Silva and try again? Silva has shown there isn't got much. Maybe he must sit on the bench and come on as an impact player. He must earn his place in the team. I'll go with the tried and tested. Whoever comes in, if Moniani's done well, throw him in. If Shinga's done well, throw him in. If they don't deliver, let's bring back Frostler. Let's bring in players that we know. Because once you get into the season, there's no more talk about what happened preseason. Preseason is to not only prepare your players physically, technically, and like Tsepo said, it's also individuals getting the right mindset. And who gets that? It's the coach. It's the technical staff that create that positivity in the team. And that mentality is what I want to see more. Also, I want to see that the players are fresh. Because you say you've had a tough season, but now what have you done for regeneration? Have you done certain regeneration techniques to ensure there's recovery? You know what I mean? Because when we move into that, we got to understand rest. We got to understand diet. What has been done as far as supplementation is concerned. Because there's many ways in modern football to get players after a tough preseason, to get them back to a situation where there's freshness in the team, where there's proper recovery, whether it be icing, whether it be ice chambers. Chiefs have got the finances to do that. And from my experience in the past, we did that with David Milner. We had him do regeneration in different ways, whether it be ice chambers, etc. I don't know if Tsepo was there. Did they make use of those things? But when I was there with Ted, we did that. When I was there with Machine, we did that. So I think let's forget about what happened preseason. Now it's time to kick off this coming weekend. Let's get a good result.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you guys. I think in midfield, we need to see Ndlovu play a half, maybe even 60 minutes, because he needs to be pushed a little bit to get ready for the season. We probably want to see the third one also build some chemistry with Ndlovu and Cele, not too much chopping and changing. Monyane's had a different wing in front of him in every game, in every half he's played. So maybe someone like Lilepo maybe playing an hour with Monyane. See if we can build something there. On the other side, whether it's Shingo or Froster, maybe with Modi or Sereno, build some chemistry. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. Just before we finish, guys, there's two players Chiefs being linked with strongly, Luke Baartman and Asanele Velebayi. It looks like they're not going to be able to join free. Sort of very quick answers. Would you spend the money to go and buy them right now? If there's not free transfers, would you go pay a fee to get these players into the door straight away? Coach, let's start with you. Would you sign these two? Would you make it happen right now, even if it came with a fee?
Well, if you look at the ages of these players, they're a good investment. I think we've seen what they're capable of. It's worth the gamble if you take into account the young players. You're not buying players who are a little bit older and the risk is greater. So obviously the price will also be determined by the fact that these are younger players. They're not going to come at a huge price. And I think Chiefs need to spend a little bit of money as well. We can't only be looking at getting players that are free and signing those based on their reputation. I think they need to have a philosophy now to introduce more younger players, but not just as from the new season. Blood them in, get those youngsters in. I think in what you mentioned now, the names that you mentioned now, Chiefs have a stronger team than what they had last year. They had more options on wide positions. They've signed Shinga. They've got Monyane. They've got a few quality players in there. You know what I'm saying? The jury's still out on Silva. You know my feeling towards Silva. You know my feeling towards Chislett. I'm not going to change that until I see something positive from them. Thus far, they haven't really impressed me yet. So I think maybe Chiefs should pay for these players and bring them on board.
And Tsepo, what do you think? Do you think Chiefs need to jump ahead, get them to the door maybe before Sundowns jumps in and grabs them and then loans them out and then suddenly they become stars? Would you pay for them now, or do you think we need to see a bit more before Chiefs spend money on them?
No, sometimes, an opportunity comes once, and I like the Baartman boy more. If there's a opportunity and as the coach said, the transfer fee is right. It's a player that you don't have to rush. You can sign, loan him out, and or if you need him, you keep him there with the team. These are such investments. We call them investments. So in the future, maybe one day you can also sell the boy to Europe. So I would definitely jump for a Baartman. Velebayi, if it's there, but it's one that it's a yes, no, it can pass but definitely Baartman. I like the boy.
Yeah, I think Baartman actually has been maybe slept on a bit. They've been linked with Velebayi a lot. The Baartman talks have suddenly shot up. But we saw when he made his debut the season before in the PSL against Pirates, he played really well. He's a lively striker, and that's a problem position. Velebayi, of course, didn't quite put up the numbers last year, so I think it depends on that price. Is it a fair price, or are they trying to ask for 9 million or something crazy? Guys, thanks so much. We've covered 3 big talking points today. I'm sure we're going to chat after the friendly on Sunday to see how Chiefs are shaping up. Cheers.